The sun hung low in the sky of the desert planet, casting long orange shadows across the endless dunes. Humans had never been here before. Their small research team moved carefully over the hot sand, scanning the horizon for any sign of life or ruins. Among them, Ronan led the way. He was tall and strong, with dark hair and sharp eyes that always seemed to notice the smallest details. He had spent years studying the legends of the sun god, a mysterious figure whose tomb was said to hold great power. For weeks, the humans had received strange signals from beneath the sand. The signals were faint at first, almost like whispers, but they grew stronger with every day. They were electromagnetic pulses, unusual enough that the human scientists were sure they were not natural. Some of the alien scholars traveling with them insisted it could be a trap. Others argued it might be a machine left by an ancient civilization. Ronan did not care about danger. He wanted answers. The team reached a ridge overlooking a wide valley. From there, the desert stretched in every direction, golden and silent. In the center, partially covered by sand, was the outline of something rectangular. It looked like a giant stone box, its edges sharp and smooth. Ronan's heart raced. "There it is," he said softly. "The ruin, we found it." The aliens beside him looked nervous, their pale skin shimmering in the fading light thought as they descended toward the ruin. The sand shifted beneath their feet. Small stones rolled down the slopes, and the wind carried a faint humming sound. It was almost musical, like a tone made by a crystal. The closer they got, the stronger the sound became. Finally, they reached the edge of the stone structure. It was much larger than they expected. Carvings covered the walls. Suns, stars, and strange symbols that seemed to move when the light hit them. Ronan stepped forward, carefully. He touched one of the carvings. The moment his hand connected with the cold stone, a soft golden light began to glow from the lines in the symbols. The light spread slowly, as if the ruin itself was waking up. The alien scholars gasped. One of them, named Torin, whispered, "It is alive. The legend is true. Humans should not touch it." Ronan ignored the warning. He took a deep breath and reached for the artifact they had found buried near the ridge. It was a small object, metal and warm to the touch. Strange symbols were etched into it, and it pulsed gently with light. When he placed the artifact on the carved surface, the glow intensified. The humming became louder, and the ground trembled slightly. The ruin was responding to them. The humans gathered around, eyes wide with awe. They could feel the energy coming from the walls. It was not just power, it was intelligence. The ruin seemed to know they were there, testing them, inviting them in. Ronan felt a mixture of fear and excitement. He had always dreamed of discovering something that would change the understanding of the galaxy. Now, it was happening. One of the younger team members, a human named Maiko, spoke quietly. "Do you think it will be dangerous?" Ronan looked at him with a calm smile. "Everything important is," he said. "But we cannot turn back now. We are the first to find this place in thousands of years. We have to see what is inside." The aliens did not move. Their hesitation was clear. They had seen ruins like this before, but never one that responded to human touch. Torin finally nodded. "If humans proceed, I will follow. But I warn you, this place is older than most galaxies. It does not forgive carelessness." Ronan nodded. He felt the warmth of the artifact in his hand. Its light grew brighter, illuminating the carvings and revealing hidden paths along the walls. Small doors, almost invisible at first, now glimmered with golden energy. The ruin was alive, and it was opening. The sun dipped below the horizon, and the desert was bathed in deep orange and purple. The wind carried a scent of metal and sand, a strange mixture that was both fresh and ancient. Ronan felt a shiver run through him. This was the moment they had waited for. The ruin was a tomb, yes, but it was also a key. And Ronan held the first piece of the puzzle. He turned to his team. We stay together. We watch each other, and we move forward. This is only the beginning. The humans nodded, feeling a sense of pride and responsibility. They were explorers, seekers of knowledge, and they were standing at the edge of history. The golden glow continued to spread across the stone surface. The hum became a low, steady vibration that seemed to enter their very bones. The tomb was alive, and it had acknowledged them. Ronan could almost hear a voice in the sound, ancient and patient, saying, "You are ready." Night fell over the desert planet, but the ruin shone like a star on the ground. Ronan and his team camped nearby, keeping watch over the artifact. And the entrance. Sleep was impossible. Every rustle of sand, every faint sound of movement, reminded them that they were not just visitors. They were participants in something greater than themselves. Ronan looked at the glowing artifact one last time before closing his eyes. Tomorrow, they would enter the tomb. Whatever waited inside, they would face it together. And in that moment, Ronan understood that humans were special. Their curiosity, their courage, and their determination had brought them here. The tomb might be ancient, but the future belonged to those willing to reach for it. The first light of the desert sun painted the sand in shades of gold and red. Ronan and his team had not slept much. The glowing artifact rested on a stone pedestal near the tomb entrance, its light still steady and warm. The desert was quiet, but there was an energy in the air that made their skin tingle. The team knew today they would move closer to the secrets hidden inside the tomb. Ronan gathered everyone near the entrance. Maiko adjusted his pack nervously while the alien scholars hovered behind. Torrin spoke in a low voice. The inscriptions warn that those who enter unprepared will face danger. The tomb watches. It judges. We must proceed carefully. Ronan nodded. We will be careful, but we cannot turn back. This is our chance to learn what no one else has ever seen. His voice was steady, full of confidence. The humans felt a surge of excitement. Their hearts beat faster, but their fear was mingled with curiosity. The tomb entrance was enormous. It was a doorway carved from a single piece of stone, smooth and perfect, glowing faintly in golden light. The walls on either side were covered with carvings of the sun god, his face shining, eyes like stars. Symbols of planets and stars surrounded him. They seemed to tell a story of a civilization far older than any humans had ever known. As the team stepped forward, the hum from the tomb grew louder. It was a vibration that they could feel in their feet and bones. The artifact pulsed in Ronan's hand as if it recognized the doorway. A faint warmth spread through him. The tomb was alive, and it was aware of their presence. The first chamber they entered was large and circular. The ceiling arched high above them, covered with golden lines that crisscrossed like a map of stars. In the center of the room was a pedestal, similar to the one outside, but empty. The light from the walls reflected off the stone floor, creating patterns that shifted as they moved. Every step they took seemed to echo with purpose. Maiko whispered, "It feels like the room is watching us." Ronan smiled. "It is. This tomb was not built for hiding. It was built for testing. We are being judged by it." The alien scholars murmured among themselves. They had studied tombs and ruins for centuries, but they had never seen one that responded to the presence of humans. Torrin glanced at Ronan. "You humans are different. You do not fear what you cannot understand. That is why it allows you inside." The team moved carefully deeper into the chamber. As they did, the golden lines on the walls began to shift. Doors appeared where there were none before. Small panels of light slid open, revealing narrow passageways. It was as if the tomb was showing them the path. Suddenly, A soft voice filled the room. It was not loud, but it seemed to come from everywhere at once. Those who seek the sun god must prove their courage and wisdom. Only those who understand may proceed. The team froze. The voice was calm, not threatening, but full of authority. Ronan stepped forward. "We are ready. We will face your trials. We want to learn, not to harm." The hum grew louder, but it no longer felt threatening. It felt like a welcome. The first door ahead slid open, revealing a hallway lit by glowing symbols dot as they walked. Down the hallway, the walls seemed to move slightly, as if alive. Patterns shifted and changed when they passed, showing images of stars, planets, and strange machines. Some of the symbols looked like humans, but taller and stronger, with golden eyes. Ronan wondered if they were visions of the sun god's creators. The first trial came without warning. A series of floating stones blocked the path. Each stone had a symbol on it. If stepped on in the wrong order, the stones would sink into the fields of the floor, releasing a burst of wind strong enough to knock someone down. Miko hesitated, unsure which symbol to choose. Ronan studied the carvings on the walls. They showed a story. He pointed to the first stone. "We follow the story. Step where it begins." One by one, the team stepped on the stones in the order Ronan indicated. The stones glowed bright gold with each correct step. When the last step was taken, a warm light filled the hallway, and the path ahead opened fully. The tomb had accepted them. Taran looked impressed. "I did not think humans could do that. You do not only use strength. You see patterns, you understand stories, and that is why the tomb allows you forward." Ronan smiled at his team. "This is only the beginning. There will be more trials. But we can do it if we work together." Miko looked relieved, but also proud. He had followed Ronan's lead, and it worked out as they moved deeper. The tomb seemed to hum in approval. The golden lines on the walls pulsed like a heartbeat. The air smelled faintly of warm metal and sunlight. Every step they took felt like a step closer to understanding something greater than themselves. The humans knew that the tomb held knowledge and power beyond imagination, and that it recognized their courage and intelligence. Ronan glanced back at his team. Their eyes shone with determination. The aliens, once skeptical, were now silent, following closely, clearly impressed by human skill and intuition. The tomb had started to reveal its secrets, but Ronan understood that the real challenges were still ahead. They had passed the first warning. The tomb had tested their courage and wisdom, and the humans had succeeded. But the sun god's true secret was still waiting. And as they continued through the glowing corridors, they all felt a thrill of excitement mixed with caution. The desert. Sun rose higher, shining through cracks in the tomb, casting golden light on the walls. This light felt alive, as if guiding them toward the heart of the ancient mystery. The hallway stretched on endlessly, glowing with golden lines that danced along the walls. Each step Ronan and his team took echoed softly in the tomb. The deeper they moved, the stronger the hum became. It was no longer just a vibration. It felt like the tomb itself was alive, breathing around them. The air was warmer here, carrying the faint scent of metal and desert sand mixed together. Ronan led the way, holding the glowing artifact carefully in his hand. Micah walked beside him, trying not to look nervous. The alien scholars followed behind, whispering to each other, their voices full of awe and caution. Taran, their leader, had stopped speaking aloud. He only watched the humans, observing how naturally they adapted to the strange tomb. Suddenly, the walls began to shift. Passageways appeared where there had been none, and doors closed behind them. It felt like the tomb was guiding them, choosing the path for those it deemed worthy. Ronan noticed a faint pattern in the movement of the walls. The golden lines seemed to form a map, showing which corridors led forward and which were traps. Maiko whispered, "How do you understand it?" Ronan smiled. "We have to pay attention. The tomb speaks in light, not words. It shows you the way if you watch closely." Their first challenge in this new section came as a sudden gust of air. It pushed them back, strong enough to make them stumble. Then, panels of light appeared on the floor. They formed a grid, each square glowing softly. Some squares pulsed quickly, and Ronan realized they were dangerous. If stepped on in the wrong order, the squares would release bursts of wind or heat. Ronan studied the symbols in the room carefully. He noticed shapes on the walls that matched the squares on the floor. He pointed to a symbol and then to Maiko. "Follow the pattern on the wall. Step only where it matches." Maiko nodded and moved slowly, watching Ronan's hand signals. One by one, the team crossed the glowing grid safely. When the last step was taken, the squares dimmed and the hallway ahead opened fully. The aliens looked impressed. Torin said quietly, "Humans have a way of understanding things that is different from us. You see connections, not just danger. That is why the tomb accepts you." Ronan nodded, but he did not relax. He knew the tomb had more challenges ahead. He felt the artifact pulse again, warmer and brighter. It seemed to respond to the human presence more strongly with every trial they passed. He realized that the tomb was not just testing courage or intelligence. It was testing human qualities, curiosity, creativity, and teamwork. As they moved deeper, the tomb opened into a large chamber. It was vast, like a cathedral, with a high domed ceiling. The walls were covered with carvings of stars and suns. But in the center of the room was something completely new. A circular platform rose from the floor, made of a strange metal that shimmered like liquid gold. Lines of light ran along its surface, forming a pattern that looked like a sun with rays reaching outward. Ronan approached the platform carefully. He could feel the energy radiating from it. The artifact pulsed strongly in his hand, almost as if it was calling to the platform. Maiko stepped closer, his eyes wide. "What is it?" he whispered. Ronan shook his head. "I do not know yet, but it is important. The tomb is showing us something." The alien scholars looked uneasy. Torin spoke for the first time in a while. "This is not just a tomb. It is a place of power. Humans, be careful. Many civilizations have tried to reach this far and failed." Ronan listened but did not hesitate. He knew that humans had a special quality. They were brave and clever when faced with unknown dangers. Suddenly, the platform began to glow, and the golden light spread across the room. A series of symbols appeared in the air, floating above the platform. They were strange, moving patterns, almost like a language, but none of the humans or aliens could read them. Ronan studied them carefully, noticing that some symbols repeated in a predictable way. He pointed to a group of symbols and then to the artifact. It was a guess, but he felt it was right. He placed the artifact on the platform. Immediately, the light flared and the room vibrated with energy. The floating symbols began to move faster, swirling around them. The tomb was reacting to the humans. It seemed to recognize their intelligence and decision-making. Maiko held Ronan's arm, amazed. "It is alive," he said. Ronan nodded. "Yes, and it trusts us, at least a little." The energy in the room grew stronger, but it was not dangerous. Instead, it felt like knowledge flowing toward them, like the tomb was revealing its secrets. The humans could feel ideas forming in their minds, visions of stars, machines, and civilizations long gone. The tomb was showing them the history of its creators and the purpose of the sun god. Ronan stepped back, smiling. "This is only the beginning," he said. "The tomb is guiding us, but we have to keep our minds open. There is more to see, more to understand, and we will do it together." The team felt a sense of wonder and pride. The tomb had already tested their courage, intelligence, and teamwork. Now it was showing them a glimpse of something greater. The humans understood that the sun god's tomb was not just a place of ancient power, it was a lesson in wisdom, patience, and respect for knowledge. As they prepared to move further, the tomb pulsed one last time like a heartbeat. Ronan felt it in his chest, warm and steady. The tomb had acknowledged them. They were no longer just visitors, they were participants in an ancient story. And they knew that the real challenges were still ahead. Ronan and his team stepped out of the glowing hallway into a chamber unlike any they had seen before. The room was enormous, wider than a city plaza, with a ceiling that arched so high that the top disappeared into shadows. Light came not from torches or the artifact, but from the walls themselves, which shimmered like liquid gold. The floor was smooth and polished, reflecting the golden glow. In the center of the room stood a massive stone door covered in carvings of the sun god, his eyes shining like twin suns. The team approached cautiously. Miko's eyes were wide with wonder. "This must be it," he whispered. "The heart of the tomb?" Torin nodded gravely. "This is the final chamber before the sun god's secrets, but beware. The tomb will not give its knowledge freely." Ronan studied the carvings on the door. They were intricate and beautiful, showing scenes of humans and beings from the stars working together, building great cities and flying ships. At the center of the carvings was a symbol that matched the artifact in Ronan's hand. The artifact pulsed gently, as if sensing the door. He placed the artifact against the central symbol. A deep hum filled the chamber, vibrating through their bones. The walls seemed to come alive, golden lines flowing like rivers. But the door did not open. Instead, a voice echoed throughout the chamber, calm but powerful. "Those who seek the sun god's knowledge must show balance of mind, courage, and heart. Only with unity can the path be revealed." Ronan exchanged a glance with his team. "It is another test," he said. "We have to work together. Each of us must contribute." The first challenge appeared immediately. From the floor, golden pillars of light rose, forming a circle around the door. Each pillar held a floating crystal that glowed softly. As they touched the crystals, images and sounds filled the room. Each human and alien saw visions of choices they had made, both good and bad. Moments of courage, hesitation, and teamwork. It was as if the tomb was examining their hearts. Miko stepped forward cautiously. He placed his hand on a crystal, and an image of the desert and the journey they had taken appeared before him. He saw how he had followed Ronan's guidance through the traps and trials. The crystal pulsed warmly, approving his actions. Torin and the aliens touched their crystals next. The tomb showed them memories of their own experiences, highlighting moments where their wisdom and decisions had helped others. The energy in the room grew brighter, a golden light that felt alive and protective. Ronan realized that the tomb was testing more than intelligence. It was testing empathy, courage, and teamwork. Each member of the team had to accept their past actions and understand the lessons they held. He stepped to his crystal and allowed himself to focus on his own journey. The artifact in his hand glowed brighter than ever, linking his energy to the chamber. Once everyone touched their crystals and faced their visions, the golden pillars began to rise higher, forming arches that met above the door. The carvings shifted, showing the sun god smiling, his eyes filled with light. A path of golden symbols appeared across the floor, leading directly to the door. The team stepped forward, moving as one. Each step felt guided, safe, and meaningful. The tomb seemed to recognize their unity, rewarding them for understanding the value of cooperation and trust. When they reached the massive stone door, it began to move slowly. A deep rumble echoed through the chamber as the door opened, revealing a staircase that led downward into darkness. A warm light glowed faintly from the depths, and the hum of the tomb became a steady pulse, like a heartbeat calling them forward. Ronan led the descent, holding the artifact high. The walls of the staircase were covered in carvings that glimmered like gold in the artifact's light. They showed the sun god guiding civilizations, sharing knowledge, and protecting the balance of life. Each step seemed to tell a story, reminding the team that what lay ahead was sacred and powerful. Micah walked closely behind Ronan, his excitement mixed with a hint of fear. "Do you think the sun god is still here?" he asked quietly. Ronan shook his head. "I do not know. But whatever is ahead, it will teach us, guide us, or challenge us. We have to be ready for anything." The alien scholars moved with reverence, their usual curiosity now tempered by respect. Torin glanced back at the humans, nodding with approval. "Your courage and unity brought us this far. The tomb recognizes your worth." The staircase opened into another chamber, smaller than the last, but filled with a brilliance that made them shield their eyes. In the center floated a golden sphere, radiating warmth and light. Symbols swirled around it like planets orbiting a sun. The artifact in Ronan's hand pulsed violently, responding to the sphere. Ronan stepped closer, feeling a wave of energy wash over him. "This must be the heart of the tomb," he whispered. "The sun god's true knowledge is here." The team gathered around, their eyes wide with awe. The chamber hummed like a living thing, and the light from the golden sphere reflected on each face, showing wonder, excitement, and determination. They knew the tomb had revealed its last test, and what they chose next could change everything. Ronan placed the artifact near the floating sphere. The room vibrated with energy, and the golden light expanded, enveloping the team. The tomb was ready to share its secrets, and the humans felt the weight of history, power, and knowledge resting in their hands. They had passed every trial so far, but the heart of the tomb held mysteries that would challenge their minds and spirits like never before. And as the golden light surrounded them, they understood that the journey was only beginning. The golden light surrounded Ronan and his team, filling the chamber with warmth and energy. The floating sphere pulsed rhythmically, almost like it was alive. The artifact in Ronan's hand glowed brighter than ever, its energy connecting with the sphere. The hum of the tomb was now a steady heartbeat, strong and steady, guiding their thoughts. Ronan stepped closer, feeling a strange pull. The golden sphere responded to his presence, spinning slowly and projecting patterns of light onto the walls. These patterns were like puzzles made of symbols and shapes. Each symbol seemed to hold a memory, a story, or a truth about the sun. God's civilization. Micah leaned closer to the wall, trying to read the symbols. "It looks like a map and a message at the same time," he said. "Maybe it is showing us how the sun god lived and what he protected." Torin nodded. "The sun god's knowledge is not just for power. It is for understanding, for learning how to live in balance with the universe." Ronan touched the floating sphere gently. The artifact in his hand resonated with it, and a wave of energy passed through him. Suddenly, images filled his mind, cities of gold, stars that burned bright in the sky, and people from many worlds working together. He realized the sun god had built a civilization based on unity, learning, and courage. The sphere began to project 3 beams of light toward the team. Each beam was aimed at a person. Ronan felt the energy wrap around him like a warm cloak, filling him with clarity and determination. The beam told him he had to choose wisely, for the tomb tested not just courage, but judgment. Micah's beam was softer, almost like a gentle touch. It showed him moments where kindness, patience, and careful thinking had saved lives. The alien scholars' beams revealed the wisdom of their races, the knowledge of stars, and the lessons learned from centuries of study. Ronan realized that the sun god's final test was not about strength or skill. It was about understanding, cooperation, and using knowledge with care. He looked at his team, knowing they had passed every trial so far because they trusted each other and worked together. Beams of light merged at the center, forming a glowing symbol that hovered in the air. The symbol was like a key, made of many smaller shapes that represented courage, wisdom, and heart. The artifact pulsed in response, fitting perfectly into the center of the symbol. Ronan lifted the artifact and placed it into the glowing shape. The chamber vibrated with energy, and the golden light expanded until it filled every corner. A voice, calm and powerful, echoed through the room. "You have shown courage, wisdom, and heart. You have honored the journey and the lessons of the Sun God. The path is open to those who act with unity and respect." The golden sphere split into 3 smaller orbs, each floating gently toward a team member. As they touched the orbs, knowledge flowed into their minds, not as words, but as understanding. They could see the design of the Sun God's cities, the secrets of his machines, and the purpose of his civilization. Every piece of knowledge was connected to life, balance, and the well-being of all beings. Michael gasped softly. This is incredible. We can understand things we never imagined." Torin looked at the humans with respect. "You were worthy. The tomb chose you because you see not just power, but meaning. Many could not do what you have done." Ronan studied the chamber. The walls now glowed with images of the Sun God guiding his people. The beams of light created paths that led outward, toward doors they had not noticed before. The tomb was opening fully now, offering access to places that had remained hidden for centuries. He realized that the tomb's trials were designed to prepare them. Only by working together, trusting each other, and understanding the value of knowledge could they reach the true secrets. The Sun God had left his power as a gift, but only for those who were ready to use it wisely. The team moved forward, following the golden paths of light. Each step felt purposeful, as if the tomb itself was walking with them. They reached a doorway that opened into a circular chamber. In the center, a pedestal held a crystal shaped like a sun. The crystal glowed with soft golden light, and the artifact in Ronan's hand resonated strongly. He placed the artifact on the pedestal. The crystal began to rotate slowly, casting beams of light onto the walls. Each beam illuminated a story, a lesson, or a piece of knowledge. The tomb was not just a place of history, it was a living library, teaching those who were worthy. Ronan turned to his team. "We have found it. The Sun God's true legacy is not just treasure or power. It is knowledge, understanding, and unity. This is what we are meant to carry forward." Maiko smiled, feeling a mix of awe and responsibility. "We can learn so much from this, and maybe share it too, to help others." Torin nodded. The Sun God's gift is more than technology or gold. It is wisdom that will last for generations. You are the first humans to truly understand it. The chamber pulsed one last time with golden light. The energy was warm and comforting, as if the tomb itself was pleased. The humans and their allies knew that this was not the end. The tomb had revealed its heart, but the journey of learning and discovery would continue beyond its walls. Ronan lifted the artifact, feeling its steady warmth. He looked at his team and said, "The Sun God trusted us. Now it is our turn to honor that trust. We have work to do, but together we can carry this knowledge safely." The team nodded. They had passed the ultimate test, unlocked the tomb's secrets, and understood the value of unity, courage, and heart. And as they prepared to leave the chamber, they felt ready to share the wisdom of the Sun God with the world. Ronan and his team moved carefully through the golden-lit corridors of the tomb. The air was warm and heavy with the energy of the Sun God's legacy. They had unlocked the knowledge of the ancient civilization, but now they faced the challenge of leaving safely. The tomb, though generous in its teachings, was also protective of its treasures. Michael walked beside Ronan, holding the artifact tightly. "Do you think the tomb will let us leave without testing us again?" he asked nervously. Torin, walking a step behind, shook his head. "The sun god's tomb is a living place. It ensures that those who carry its knowledge are worthy not only to receive it, but also to leave with it." The team entered a wide chamber where the floor was made of smooth, polished stone. Golden symbols lined the walls and shifted under their gaze. As they stepped forward, the symbols began to glow and move faster, forming patterns that spiraled toward the center of the room. The artifact in Ronan's hand reacted immediately, sending a pulse of light that matched the rhythm of the symbols. Suddenly, the floor beneath them began to shift. Panels moved silently, creating gaps and obstacles. The tomb was testing their coordination and trust once more. Ronan called out to the group, "Stay close. We must move together and follow the path." Maiko carefully stepped onto a glowing panel, which rose slightly under his weight. The others followed, their steps perfectly timed with the moving floor. Each step required focus, courage, and precision. The tomb was reminding them that knowledge alone was not enough. One wrong move could endanger them all. As they reached the center of the chamber, the walls shimmered and revealed a new threat. From the golden light emerged mechanical guardians, ancient protectors shaped like towering figures of gold and bronze. Their eyes glowed like the sun, and their movements were precise and silent. They were not angry, but they were testing the team's resolve and unity. Torin raised his hands calmly. "Do not attack. Show them we are worthy and mean no harm." The guardians paused, studying the humans and their companions. They moved slowly around the team, observing each step and each gesture. Ronan realized that the guardians were part of the sun god's final challenge. They had to demonstrate respect, intelligence, and teamwork to pass. Ronan stepped forward, holding the artifact high. The golden light from the artifact projected symbols into the air, matching the patterns. On the floor, he guided the team in synchronizing their movements with the symbols. Every step became a dance of coordination and trust. Maiko and the others followed perfectly, mirroring Ronan's rhythm. The guardians slowly lowered their arms, signaling approval. The central chamber shifted again, revealing a hidden staircase that led upward. The team began to climb, feeling the energy of the tomb guiding their path. The walls now displayed scenes of the sun god's civilization thriving in harmony. Cities floated in the sky, forests and rivers glowed with golden light, and beings from many worlds worked together peacefully. The tomb reminded them that its knowledge was meant to inspire, not dominate. At the top of the staircase, a large doorway opened into the final exit chamber. Sunlight from outside streamed in, brighter than any light inside the tomb. But the team noticed something unusual. Shadows flickered unnaturally, and the air carried a strange tension. The tomb was not finished testing them. From the shadows, a massive stone guardian emerged. Its form was humanoid but larger than any of the previous guardians. Its golden eyes locked onto the team, scanning for fear, hesitation, or greed. Ronan realized that this guardian was the last obstacle before they could leave. He stepped forward. "Slowly, we do not seek to steal or to harm. We only carry the sun god's knowledge to protect and learn from it." The guardian moved closer, testing their intentions. The artifact in Ronan's hand glowed brightly, casting a protective light around the team. Maiko held his ground, showing courage. Torin and the alien scholars aligned themselves around the humans, demonstrating unity. For a moment, the guardian paused. Then, slowly, it stepped aside, opening the exit completely. The sunlight outside touched the team, warming their faces and illuminating the golden dust that floated in the air. They had passed the final trial, proving their courage, intelligence, and unity Ronan exhaled deeply. "We made it," he said, his voice filled with relief and wonder. "The tomb trusted us, and we did not fail it." Miko smiled, feeling the weight of their journey lift slightly. "We've learned more than we imagined. Not just about the sun god, but about ourselves and each other." Torin nodded. "This is only the beginning. The knowledge we carry can change the world, but it must be used wisely." As they stepped out of the tomb, the golden light faded. Behind them, leaving only the natural glow of the sun, the desert stretched out before them, vast and quiet, but now it held the promise of discovery and responsibility. The team knew they had been chosen not just to find the tomb, but to honor its lessons and protect its legacy. Ronan looked at the horizon, the artifact still glowing in his hand. "We will share what we have learned, but carefully. The sun god's wisdom must guide us, not blind us with power." Miko nodded, feeling the truth of Ronan's words. They had faced every challenge, passed every test, and now carried the greatest treasure: knowledge, courage, and unity. As they walked down the desert path, the team felt stronger, wiser, and more connected than ever. The sun god's tomb had tested them fully, and they had emerged ready for the next chapter of their journey. The sun shone brightly over the desert as Ronan and his team made their way away from the tomb. The artifact in Ronan's hand glowed softly, a reminder of the sun god's wisdom and the journey they had completed. The desert seemed calm, but the team knew their task was just beginning. The knowledge they had gained was powerful, and it needed careful handling. Miko glanced at the horizon. "We have the knowledge, but what now? How do we share it without causing harm?" Torin spoke thoughtfully. "We carry a responsibility. The sun god's legacy is not for personal gain. It is meant to guide, to help, and to protect. We must use it wisely." The team reached their camp, where their transport waited. As they prepared to leave the desert, Ronan studied the artifact closely. Symbols of light shifted across its surface, showing images of distant worlds, advanced machines, and the lessons of civilizations long past. Each image told a story about cooperation, courage, and the careful use of knowledge. Ronan said, "The sun god's knowledge is like a map. It shows how to build, how to solve problems, and how to protect life. But it will not tell us what to do. We must decide." Miko nodded, excitement and caution in his eyes. "We can start by learning from these lessons ourselves, then helping others understand them. We can teach, not control." The alien scholars agreed. The artifact can guide many, but only if those who carry its knowledge act with care. We must avoid misuse or greed. As they traveled back to their home world, the team began to test what they had learned. They solved problems that once seemed impossible. Machines operated more efficiently, energy was used wisely, and communities began to work together more effectively. Everywhere they went, people noticed the changes and asked for guidance. Ronan realized that the sun god's gift was not just information, but a new way of thinking. It encouraged curiosity, respect, and unity. The artifact could teach, but it also required understanding. If they failed to follow its lessons, its power could be misunderstood or wasted. One day, the team visited a city facing a water shortage. Rivers were low, and the population was struggling. Using the knowledge from the artifact, Ronan and his companions designed a system to collect, store, and distribute water efficiently. The city's leaders followed their guidance, and soon water reached every home. The people celebrated, grateful, for a solution that did not rely on force, but on careful planning and understanding. Miko looked at the flowing water with satisfaction. This is what the sun god wanted. Not to dominate, but to help. We are just following the lessons we learned. Torin added, "Every problem we face is an opportunity to apply wisdom. Knowledge alone is not enough. It must be paired with heart." and courage. As the team continued their journey, word of their discovery spread. Other scientists, leaders, and explorers came to learn from them. Ronan taught that the greatest strength was not in the artifact itself, but in how knowledge was shared and applied. People began to work together across regions, inspired by the sun god's lessons. One evening, under a sky full of stars, Ronan held the artifact and reflected on their journey. We entered the tomb seeking treasure and adventure. What we found is far greater. It is the understanding that knowledge, unity, and courage can change the world. Mako smiled. And it is our responsibility to protect that understanding. We cannot let fear, greed, or pride destroy it. Torin looked at the horizon. The sun god trusted us with his wisdom. Now it is our turn to carry it forward. We must teach, guide, and remind others that every action has meaning. The artifact pulsed softly in response, as if acknowledging their words. It had tested them, guided them, and now it rested in their hands, a symbol of trust and responsibility. The team's efforts created lasting change. Communities worked together more closely. Technology was used to improve life without harming the planet, and knowledge spread as a gift rather than a weapon. People began to see that strength came not from power alone, but from understanding, cooperation, and respect. Ronan often thought of the tomb and the sun god's trials. Each challenge had taught them a lesson, and each lesson had guided them toward becoming leaders of wisdom, not rulers of force. The artifact reminded them that their journey would never truly end. Learning, sharing, and teaching were ongoing responsibilities. One morning, as the sun rose, Ronan spoke to his team. The tomb showed us the path. We have followed it, and now it is open to everyone who seeks wisdom, courage, and unity. The sun god's legacy lives on in every choice we make. Miko looked at the rising sun. It feels like we are part of something much bigger than ourselves. The knowledge is alive, and it is in all of us. Torin nodded. The journey began in the tomb, but it continues in the hearts and minds of everyone we touch. That is the true gift of the sun god. As the team continued their mission, helping communities, teaching lessons, and spreading understanding, they knew they had fulfilled the tomb's purpose. The sun god's knowledge was safe, respected, and alive in the world. Their adventure had begun as a quest for treasure, but it ended as a journey of wisdom, courage, and hope. And every sunrise, they saw a reminder of the sun god's light, guiding them forward, inspiring them, and showing that the greatest treasure was not gold or power, but knowledge used with heart.